Hi, I'm Barbara Battisti, and I'm calling from the California area. But it is my privilege and honor today to have Chandra Alexander on from Tampa, Florida. And for me, we have been friends, gosh, over 17 years, I believe. And Chandra is just a breath of fresh air in her straightforward coaching and such. She is a life coach of over 30 years. She has a graduate degree. She's studied in India, well, lived in India for 10 years and came back, thank goodness, worked in corporate America. And that's when we connected, was in St. Petersburg and Tampa Bay area. She is an author and she's just an amazing friend and connector. And I have invited her here today to share with us. Actually, we started on the new year. Now we're going into grief and process because I've asked that. So, Chandra, you take it any which way you want to go, and then we'll pick it up from there. Thanks.
There's no way to live a life that has meaning without having grief in your life. There's just no way. Because grief is always the underbelly of loving. The more deeply you love, the more deeply you grieve. And I work with a lot of people and they're like, I just lost my pet after, I'm just talking about pets. I'm not even talking about people here. Right. So I just lost my pet and I'm never going to have another one. I'm like, was the loving not worth it? So if you're not willing to pick up that piece of life, you can't really love with an open heart, because the more open your heart is, the deeper your loss. So the way to move through grieving is to step right into it. I mean, step right into it, right in the center of it, and to not try to go around it. So here's what's happening with you, Barbara, for example. Because you lost your mother-in-law, and then you lost other members of your family before that, and now you lost a very significant piece of your company and your job. Everything we love is connected to every other thing we love. We cut and paste our life. We say, you know what? Our work doesn't have anything to do with my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law doesn't have anything to do with my brother. This doesn't have anything to do with the person down the street that I'm close to. It's not true. To the universe, it's just energy. We cut and paste to make it manageable. The deeper that we open our heart, we have one heart. You close it to hurt, you close it to love. So that's what happens. So people get hurt. Their heart is broken. They're like, okay, I'm done. That's fine. You're not going to have that joy in your life either. So when you become healthy and you start to really get your life together, you learn how to hold two conflicting feelings at the exact same time. Up until a certain point in your life, it's almost like, if I'm hurt, I'm going to close my heart. If I'm love, I'm going to open it. If I don't like this person, I'm throwing out the baby with the bathwater. But can you hold two conflicting feelings at the same time? So, can you love deeply and can you grieve at the same time and not feel like you have to close your heart or become distracted? And that's what people do. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to talk about it. So I say to somebody, how's that working for you? So here's what happens. I have a girlfriend that calls it strange outcropping. She says, you know what happens? You push it down here and it pops up here. You push it down here and it pops up here. Nothing goes away. Everything holds its own in the universe. Everything holds its own.
Yeah.
So people say, well, how can if my heart keeps breaking and I keep losing, and especially as we get older, I mean, there's not a day that goes by that I don't hear someone has an incurable disease, someone killed themselves, someone died, I mean, it's just, I hear every single day. So how do you keep your heart open in the midst of all these losses? That's really what we have to figure out. All right. There's no way to do that unless you know how to have self-care. What's self-care? Self-care is saying no. Not saying yes, saying no. Self-care is the boundaries that we need in order to take care of ourselves. It doesn't come from a nasty place. It doesn't come from a confrontational place. It doesn't come from a defensive place. It comes from, you know what? I really love you and I care about you, but I need to spend this day by myself. I just need to do nothing. I have a girlfriend, a very best friend. She's like, I said, what did you do today? She says, nothing. I said, what are you doing later? She says, nothing. I said, I'm so proud of you. So that's what we're afraid to do. It's only when we do nothing and we don't distract ourselves that what we need to feel rises to the surface. Only when we feel it does the pain begin to dissipate. If we don't feel it, we end up with barnacles on the heart, a hardness about life. Life is this life, I don't care what religion you are. I've spent years doing the spiritual journey. I'm sorry. I don't make a distinction anymore. It's all life. It's all a spiritual life. It's all a loving life. It's a very hard life. It's very, very hard. It's very hard. It's very hard.
Yeah.
And the only way to get through it is to cut yourself a lot of slack for being human.
Yeah.
I don't mind if people make mistakes. It's not a problem. But you've got to be accountable. You've got to be accountable. I can work with tons of people. They've made the most horrendous mistakes. I spent years going into the jails. I don't think I even told you about that.
No.
People who nobody wanted anything to do with. As long as I could feel remorse, I felt a connection. I just read an article. I read an article last week. Harvard, you guys can look it up. It's an 85-year study that was done by Harvard. And the number one thing that makes life worthwhile and brings us joy: connections.
Wow.
It's not money. I live in a very wealthy part of Tampa. I like living down here. The reason why I like living down here, aside from it being beautiful, is everybody has money.
Yeah.
And you know what that means? If it was money that made you happy, everybody has the car, everybody has the house, so what happens is, if you are trying to figure out how to pay your rent, if you can't pay your mortgage, if you can't turn on your electricity, you can't work on your stuff. You got other stuff that you got to take care of first. How to put food on the table. Not that I don't deal with all that stuff, I do. But I'm saying that when you're able to take care of your basic life necessities, only then can you really begin to work on their stuff. So I have people say to me, well, how long do I have to do this? I'm like, how about till you get it right? How about till you get it right? So to me, this is not something that you do one thing, you get it, and then you move on. This is a continual process where you always come back to yourself and you say to yourself, what do I need to do for me so that I don't shut down? That's the key. So if you have a loss.
Wait, I like that. What do I need to do for me so I don't shut down? That's amazing, because you know we are in sales, and sales is connection. And
well, see, you think your product is not Nikon. Your product is customer relations.
Right.
That's your product. Your
We can,
product
right,
is the
right,
way that you connect. I
right.
work with people, I work with CEOs and company all over Tampa. I tell them all the time. I told someone the other day, okay, stop. You know, roofing, I had a roofer guy here. I said, okay, stop. Your product, you think your product is the tiles you're putting on my roof. Your product is not the tiles. Your product is the connection you have to me, because if I don't like you, you're not going to work for me.
Right.
I mean, that's the deal. I'm not going to work with someone I don't like anymore. I don't care how cheap they are.
Right. Right.
I'm going to work with someone that I connect with, that I feel like. So I tell people all the time, I don't care if you're late. I don't care if you can't do it. You've got to communicate with me. You can't treat me where you think your time and what you do is more important than mine. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you, you know what? I don't think this is a good match. And I have people come to me all the time. I've given money back many times. I tell people, you know what? I wish you the very best. I don't think it's a match. I don't want to take your money if you're not willing to do the work. So you can't buy the work. You can't think the work. You got to actually do the work, and do the work. You've got to be disciplined. Because if you wait to be motivated, you'll never have. If I waited to be motivated, I'd have nothing in my life. Motivation, highly overrated. If you waited to be motivated, you wouldn't be the salesperson you are today.
Right.
I don't wait to be motivated.
No, it's taking the steps. It's taking the one step, the one step, the one step to keep it going. But I do love that. And I do love the connection part, because and the self-care, because if we're not taking care of ourselves in the midst of it, or having day or an afternoon, I think about like a 4-hour window, then we can get in touch with our own emotions, right? That's basically it, bringing our own emotions up, embracing it, embracing the field. I mean, for me, um I've had some really good friends hurt in this. And so, and I wasn't going to bring it up. And of course I didn't bring it up. I'm bringing it up because I didn't want to bring it up, is why I'm bringing it up, is what I'm saying. But, I can't say anything for them. They've lost their business. Um, the only avenue is if they wanted to open up a distributorship in the United States, and they're in Germany and France and England. So that's not a possibility for some. So they've just had 20 years of their life work just stopped. Boom. It ends the end of March, and it starts up, and they get their last paycheck in April. Uh, Now, Niken is going to support the water system somehow, or the filters. But I feel like, uh, I don't know. I feel it's a shift in how you have to come forward. We have new beginnings, new sales stuff going on, and I am excited about it, but I have this ache at the same time.
See, here's what's happening, Barbara. One door is closing and another one is not yet open. Okay? Most people aren't brave enough to stay in that space in between.
Okay.
They're like, and they get really bad advice from the world. Go open another door. Go ahead, just do it. Just, don't, everybody wants you to just keep moving. And it's the worst thing you can do. The worst. You need to close one door, and you need to be brave enough to stay in that space in between, because that's where all the ingredients, see, you can't know here what's going to be here without being here. There's no way you can know.
Right.
So when you stay in that space, for example, you want to do a smoothie. You put in banana, you put in mango, the thing is, if you put in the right ingredients and you turn on the blender, that smoothie's going to taste good. It may not be a smoothie you made before, but if all the ingredients are right, it's going to be something new that you haven't even thought of, but you have to be brave enough to be uncomfortable, because there's no way you're going to be uncomfortable when you lose what it is you've been doing for such a long time. So what I tell people to do is just plop yourself down in the middle of the floor. Because what happens when you lose something, you start to think of all these ways to make it right. When the energy is above the neck, it's not going to solve a problem. You can't solve a problem intellectually. You think you can for the short period, but you have to solve it in your gut. So unless you're quiet, this keeps going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So what I tell people is just plop down on the middle of the floor. Just sit down on the floor. That act, that physical act, is so grounding that it's almost like it takes you out of your head and puts you back in your body. Because when you're all up in your head, you're really not in your body. You're in this space. And then you say to yourself, not how do I feel, but how do I really, really feel?
Mm.
And you just sit there and you don't move. And you give yourself just 10 minutes just to sit there. And then what begins to happen when you self-care and you give yourself that time, what's in darkness begins to come to light. And as it begins to come to light, it passes through. It just literally passes through. And all of a sudden you get up, you're like, I don't know what just happened, but I feel a little better. It's not an intellectual problem. It's a gut problem, because everything connects to everything else. So that when you lose something, it reverberates throughout your system to every other loss that you've had in this lifetime. And who knows what other lifetimes. But whatever you believe, I'm not here to tell people what to, but for this lifetime,
Right.
Every loss is connected to every other loss. And that's why the grieving is so palpable. And you've got to feel it, because unless you feel it, it gets jammed up inside.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It definitely does. Now I want to take it to a corporate level, because in one analogy was said to me that, sometimes you have to cut the hand off to save the body, right? You've got to cut the bleeding part to save the body. And I get that. But now we're the body. We're the North American, NECAN team. We're those people. And and I happen to be one of the leaders, and I have a call in an hour, and we're creating this, recreating. And I'm taking your little no with me to that meeting. I make sure I don't take on anything more than what's on my coast or where I'm going to be, to recreate what's next, right? What's happening? What's to strengthen North America. South America, just what's so, guys, is we have 25 people in America that won the trip to Japan. Almost 250 people won it from South America. Do the math. 2/3 of our business is now in South America, and 25, so 1/4 is in North America. We got to go up our ante, right? We got to go build the coffers. We got to go build the team and keep these amazing technologies and things that we have available. And they're not right here right now. Cleaned off my desk. So, but those technologies available because they're so amazing, right? They're just help people sleep better, do better, like that. So, in my picking myself up from the bootstraps, or from a corporate standpoint, not everybody felt our shift, as me. And this happened as, so I think strengthening us. We're in Japan, we're in North America, Canada, and South America. So Canada's just, it is all of North America. They just keep it rated separately. I guess because y'all's money separately. I don't know, Lorraine.
The
They
other
just
thing I
keep.
want, the other thing I want to say, as you build, because I just worked with someone yesterday on this, as you build, don't multitask. Very bad to multitask. It's a whole Madison Avenue bullshit thing that they pushed on us. Multitasking doesn't work. You end up at the end of the day with 16 things that are not done. Okay? You do one thing at a time. Make a list. Make a list at night. Just every time you think of something, write it on the list. In the morning, shuffle. The hardest thing that you don't want to do goes to the top of the list. You understand? That's how you do it. It goes to the top of the list. Cross it off, finish it. Do the next thing, cross it off, finish it. We think the result is building this network. I'm going to tell you what the result is. Good job, Barbara. You did what you said. It's the self-esteem we get from completing a task. There's nothing more than saying we're going to do something than doing it. So if you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, not good. You don't feel that. That is self-care. Self-care is if you say you're going to do something, doing it. Crossing, and what happens when you put the hardest thing at the top, the last 4 or 5 things automatically get off the list because we didn't realize that was in the hardest thing. We thought they were different tasks. So you do the hardest thing, you cross it off, and you do it every day. Don't use your phone. Use a pencil and paper so you can visually, you can see it, you can smell it, you can hear it. And they don't have to be things that anybody else thinks is important. You can mix your personal, I have to call my brother. You're like, oh my God, I've been avoiding that for, where does that rank on the list? Honestly, probably ranks number 2. So you do your business thing, you call your brother. See, you think calling your brother doesn't have anything to do with how much money you're making in business. Not true. Not calling your brother is something that's shutting you down, is something that you're protecting yourself against. Mm-hmm. Take a deep breath, be brave enough, reach out, say, you know what? I'm not sure what to say, but I need to connect with you. I'm sorry if I did anything to hurt you. I don't even know where to start. I mean, you don't have to have the answer to have a feeling. You don't have to be the person that solves the problem if you have a feeling. You're a human. You're allowed to connect on a feeling. You're allowed to say, you know what? I don't know how to make this right, but it's not right. It doesn't feel good. I'm having lunch today. I have a goddaughter that I've had since she was 7. One of the hardest thing I've ever done is before Thanksgiving, I had to tell her, okay, listen, I love you, but we need to love each other from a distance, because she was bringing out the worst in me. I was becoming this nag. Did you sign up for Homestead? What about your license? Where's the money? I'm like, it was driving me, because she was like all over the place. We would have arguments. I said, you know what? This is not working. So I'm having dinner. I'm having sushi with her at 5 o'clock. It's the first time in 5 months. I said, I love you. I don't think we're probably ready we can't do it like we did it before. I don't know how to do it. I love you. I don't want you to think I don't want to see you. Do you want to have sushi with me? It was her birthday yesterday. She said yes. I said, good. I love you and I'll see you there.
Yeah.
So I don't tell people to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. And when people, I had somebody, I worked for the last 4 years. I just stopped in May. I worked for the last 4 years. I don't know if you know this, for a company called KnowBe4. It's the largest cybersecurity company in the United States. It's actually in Clearwater. They went public, then another company just bought them again for $5 billion. $5 billion. They came out of being public, and I was their life coach for 1,500 employees. And I stopped doing it in April and May after 4 years.
Wow.
I went through the same kind of loss. What am I going to do now? Yeah. Do I immediately want to step up and start creating something? Or do I want to honor that and see what comes of itself? Which is what I did. And it was very scary. And I was used to bringing in a lot of money. And it literally stopped. Am I going to be okay? The answer is yes, I'm going to be okay. Because I've been taking care of myself for years, but not with the same amount that I was before, not the same. Now, I decided I'm going to do a lot of volunteer work. I don't know if anybody's ever decided to do volunteer work. If you want to scoop soup, that's easy. But if you actually want to be a coach, they want a resume, they want interviews. I'm like, I'm too old. I can't do that. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to wait and see what happens. And all of a sudden, my phone started to ring again. Are you still coaching? I thought, you know what? I love this. I might as well make money. But just so that the same thing you're going through is what I've been going through since the beginning of May, which is all of a sudden that constant income that, putting money away in stock, it stopped. Now, what am I going to do? So there's no way to go through life without having loss. There's no way to go through life without dealing with your stuff. And the bottom line is how do I take care of myself? That's always what it ends up with, is self-care.
That's interesting because, that's what we did crossing the country. I mean, staging the house, selling the house, foot surgery, yada, yada, come across. And I'm like, I'm not jumping in. Now, I did my work and I did different things, but I'm not jumping into, I joined the library and I joined the art museum, because I wanted to see, but, I'm not volunteering yet at those areas because I want to make sure I take care of me in the clearing the clutter, right? Clearing the clutter, not literally my piles of stuff in kids' picture, but it's here. It's not.
Yeah, the clutter is here. Okay, listen, my girlfriend's making me drink water because she said I'm not hydrated enough. I'm going to take 2 seconds and just go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
There you go. Good. I think I can pause it. Wait. Anyway, I didn't know I was going to put it out on my sleeve, and I did, because a lot's been going on, and it was wild that I had that call with Niken just before going to South Carolina. It was like, oh my gosh. And I got to sit with it on the plane, and I got to sit with it in the thing. And I talked to Igor, and I talked to Carol, and I talked to Lynn. I talked to people, and I talked to Julie Tara. She had several years prior lost all of Australia, when they closed Australia and Spain and Italy. It's like, you feel it for them, but I still had Germany and England and France. So, and they do have their American market, but he's been building Germany for forever. So it's and one of them is going to be on the trip with me, but he did open up a North American market, so they'll be sticking around. But
oh, go ahead, honey.
Go ahead. No, that's okay. I was just
going to say, do any of the people that are on here have any questions that they want to ask me?
That's what I was thinking, and I'm gonna go
Yeah,
get my
I was thinking just before we get off, if anybody wants to, okay.
Go for it.
notes.
Hattie Jane,
Hey,
go for it.
Thank
how
you
are
all.
you?
Hi,
Hi.
Chandra. Now, those of us are still in the marketplace and seeking to build and hoping to open up again someplace. There's a great deal of anxiety of, well, why should I get into that if it's going to fall apart on me? Now, those in business know you can always, folks can go out of business and things can happen and economics just turn you upside down, or war or whatever. So you can't count on future, but the anxiety is there. What about the future with this company?
You've been with this company for a while?
26 years.
26 years. And you're in the same place Barbara's in terms of wanting to know whether to, because of their closing things, whether to continue on or whether to do something.
No,
I
no.
think it's more of how
I'm
to
just
share it.
aware that's an anxiety factor, that there's no real total answer probably. But from your insight, what would you recommend?
Well, I'm trying to figure out where you're coming from. Let me ask you a question. Do you, if for some reason this company dissolved in the next 15 minutes, would you be able to take care of yourself and
Yes.
support yourself and
Yes,
live the life that you're used to living?
yes.
You got something better you want to do?
Yes, I want
What's
to be in a
that?
better quality.
What do you want to do?
I want to build a bigger business with Meekin.
That's my point. But you want to build a bigger business with this business, right?
Right.
That's my point. That's my point.
I'm thinking it's how do you share it, having this on the back burner. And to me, the amputee happened, that part happened, and we are strengthening. We need to strengthen North America. We need to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. And you know, this is my suitcase is right there. I'm like, where's my precision? But it's not here, it's downstairs. Anyway, you know, to because these are amazing products and technologies nobody has and everybody needs. I think, you know, every household. Go ahead.
Let me just tell me what your name is.
Hattie Jane.
Hattie Jane. I always see, I do what I love. You see, that's really the bottom line. And that's the place that I start from. Do I love this work? If I've been doing it and it's not my passion, when something like this happens, I'm thinking, maybe I need to go in a different direction. But it sounds to me like you really love what you do. So you start from that place. Do I love what I do? To me, there's so many different ways to build a business. See, the anxiety is there because the way that you've done it up until this point, you're not going to be able to do it going forward. You're going to have to think of a new way to kind of do this. And to me, you can either become, not that the anxiety is going to go away, but there's no way to move into unknown territory without having anxiety. There's just no way. Nobody's ever done it in the history of the universe. You're going to move into unknown territory. You're going to be anxious. So just accept that anxiety as, you can reframe it. You know, you can reframe it. Instead of I'm anxious and there's something wrong with me, I'm anxious because I'm doing things or I'm thinking of things that I haven't done before. And as long as you have money to support yourself and you can live the way you want to live, what are you going to do? You might as well look at it as a challenge. You have a friend here, obviously. You're all in this together. You're not going to be she's not going to be by yourself, right? You're all going to be talking, and I don't know if that helps any, but
I think, Son, to take it one step further, because as we're coming out of this pandemic, and I call it hibernation, we're all re-entering going, I don't know, do I want to step in that spot? Do I want to go in that area? Do I want to play in this area? Do I want to go back in that sandbox or not? And, that's, and connection is really it. How we demonstrate and how we show these technologies is important, because people either have to trust that we say it right now, or we go back into the field. And that's where, there is some reservation about that, but it's
but
never
don't you
gonna be
think,
where it
but
was
don't you,
before.
but don't you think that the products that you're offering are exactly the products people need coming out of this pandemic?
Yes. Yes.
I'm making a point.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking of the pandemic as something where you're going to lose this and lose that, when I hear about, I don't know that much about your company. I only know what you've shared with me. But
Yeah.
it seems to me that so many of the products are perfect for those of us who have, for the people that have gone through stuff during the pandemic, that can't sleep, that are anxious, that need help with their blood pressure, that need help with their, I would start to market this as perfect post-pandemic products, PPPP, perfect post-pandemic products, or do something like that to be able to bring on not only who you had before, but a whole new group of people that have never been involved with your product before. It's one thing to want your product if you're feeling kind of good, oh, I kind of can't sleep, or, mental health is the #1 issue in the United States today, with kids, with parents, with everybody. And so many of your products are geared to begin to bring some equanimity into your life without having a lot of side effects. I would really begin to market that,
Zero side effects.
Well, I mean, one of the worst things, I had somebody yesterday who, she's shaking like this. I said, what did the doctor say? Did you tell him that and she doesn't have Parkinson's? I said, what is going on? Well, I said, what did the doctor say when you told them that you had side effects? Well, you just live with it. You know what I said? Screw him, let him live with it. You're not going to live with it. We're going to figure out how to do this. So there's so many people out there that need natural healing products. And especially coming out of this pandemic, I just see a whole new group of customers for you. If you market it, I would definitely talk about what happened during the pandemic. Because what happens during the pandemic is so many people that spent the majority of their lives avoiding feelings ended up simply by default having to deal with their stuff because they couldn't go out, they couldn't go to a bar, they couldn't chat. Extroverts finally know what introverts' life are like, you know what I mean? So they never had a chance. 75% of the population is extroverted. 25% is introverted. By the way, 75% of the high IQ is in the 25%. Just saying. Just saying. So what I'm trying to tell you is there's a whole group of people that are going to be open because of the things that have happened to them during the pandemic. And this may be another way to market your stuff.
Right,
That's what I would do.
right.
Because you know what? It's just, you can't go home again. It's done. It's done. It's not going to be the same anymore. It's just
Well, it
not.
never will be. You never do go back, right? You're
No,
a
no.
new person now. But
Yeah.
you did bring on at a point that the people that are like me, I'm definitely a promoter. I'm out there, and that's how I do things. If I'm not with people, I kind of get more anxious, and I comfort myself around people and animals and things because it makes a big difference for me to be live with people. So that you're saying 75% of the people are feeling like me, kind of like, oh my God, how do I re-enter? How do I get back out there? Where do I meet for coffee? Where do I meet for lunch? And I did move across country, so I'm exploring a new town. But at the same time, even if I was in my same town, some of the restaurants aren't open anymore, different things. It's just a different way of doing business. And we're all looking at yeah.
Google is done. The only people that are in the Google office are the people that need to interact with one another doing stuff like that. Google had, we've wasted so much money. We don't need to do it. Everybody's remote. Only like 7% before the pandemic, only 7% of people were remote. Now it's like 52%. And it's not going back, because when people came home, they're like, oh my God, I get to spend time with my new baby. I get to take care of my mother. I get to, there were so many things that, so what happens is you start over here where you're never home. And then you start over here where you start over here where you're home all the time. And now you have to figure out what's going to be, how am I going to create it going forward? What am I going to do? Hattie Jane, does that help at all? I don't know if that helps at all.
There are things to think about and be aware of. I'm just also aware there's another aspect of not so much sorrow for any loss I would have economically, but the loss and the concern over individuals who have come to depend on Nikken for the products, being available the products because of their own health and their home well-being needs, and of the economics was that extra money that they could earn, which is no longer going to be there. And some, their money, period.
This is on you. These are people who are under you, who are working with you?
Any people who have been in Nikken, and Nikken has had to shut down. As I said,
this is what I was trying to tell you before. In order to have a feeling, you don't have to have a solution or an answer. That doesn't mean that you can't show up for those people and connect with those people and say, I'm here for you. If you get sad, just text me. I'll get back to you. I'm going to stay connected to you. I don't want you to feel like see, what happens is all of a sudden, the grief when we lose someone automatically kind of catapults us into this place where I'm all by myself. You know what I mean? I don't have support. I don't know what I'm going to do. So what I do is, for example, I have a neighbor next door that 3 months ago lost a husband. He went to a motel. Anyway, long story short, he used to be a drug addict. He was clean. They found him dead. Anyway, the first month, food, everybody's over there. The first few weeks, then she was by herself. Everybody, when this happens, everybody's with you. And then after a few weeks, they're like, you know what I did? Every day, I don't need soup. I don't care whether you need soup or not. I'm bringing soup. I would bring soup. I would go over there. I said to her, you're not getting rid of me. That's what I told her. You're not getting rid of me. I just talked to her the other day. Well, I said, don't worry. I said, I'm here. I brought something over. I'm constantly, hi, what's going on? No, I'm fine. I said, that's fine. How was your day yesterday? It was okay. I was by myself. I said, you don't need to be by yourself. I said, go cook. I'm just going to hang out a little bit.
Oh,
So what I'm trying to tell you is what happens when this starts to happen, when this first happens, everybody will rally round and everybody has meetings and everybody has, and then in a few weeks, it's like everybody's on their own. Don't do that. If you find that there are people that somehow can't get out of it, that are still in that dark place, you're not getting rid of me. I'm here. Let's just hang out. We don't have to talk. That's what I do. And the reason why, see, my coaching is very much about accountability. So I had somebody come to me yesterday for the first time. He says, do I need to come back in a week? I said, yes, but not, you got to text me during the week. Well, I said I said, you said you were going to do stuff before, you've never done it. What makes me think that you're going to do it this time? I need to have a text from you. I need to know. You told me you're going to do something, I need to know. And I will answer you right away. So I keep connected with my clients. It's not like, oh, how do you feel about this? And how do you feel about that? No. That's fine. I want to know how you feel. But do you want to change? Do you want to make it different? What are we going to do? That happens incrementally. That does not happen right away. This thing you're going through with Nikon, that's not going to happen right away. It's going to happen over a period of, and the way to do this, see, you also don't know exactly what your business model is going to be going forward. You don't know how that's going to, you don't know how these people are going to fit in and what's going to happen. And, this is all up for grabs.
it's all anew. It's all anew. And I'm so grateful that you're here. 1 second. I'm going to keep it for question and answer, but I'm going to stop the recording. Because
Okay, go ahead, honey.
I
Whatever
probably
you-
have to keep it in-house at this point, but and have you back on again, because it is amazing. They move there we go. So thank you for listening. This is amazing coaching. Get with coachgirl.com. Yes. Yes,
coachgirl.com. Just go to my
and find out more
website.
about the shop.
There's 40 videos under media. If you have any questions, just text me. I mean, I'll get back to you. Does anybody have any questions?